Hi, it's Mitch from PickDawgz.com, and it is Thursday, June the 6th, 2024, here with today's first half and first 5 inning picks. We got NBA action, game 1 of the finals. We'll cover the first half in this video. We've got 10 Major League Baseball games on the card as well. We'll cover all the first 5 innings of those games. Of course, every day. We also cover Today in History. Today in History, 1946. The NBA was founded, so fitting that the NBA Finals Game 1 is on today, but 1946, the NBA was founded. But anyways, we have a lot of action to cover, and of course, we're going to find a lot of money at the book's expense today, hitting these first 5 innings, and of course, the first half of the NBA Finals. We go to game 1 of the NBA Finals. We head to Boston, where the Celtics are taking on the Mavericks. Boy, this break has seemed to go on forever in between games. I think the rest and everything certainly going to help these teams, but also maybe a little bit of rust, but I doubt it. These guys are pros and they are the best in the world. These are the 2 best teams in the NBA this year. Nothing else really matters. The final start, the 2 teams standing on the court, they have earned their way there. There was no easy games in these playoffs. You know, the Celtics looking for retribution, a lot of disappointment in the big games in recent years under the Jason Tatum era. Of course, for the Mavs, Kyrie Irving looking to win a title on his own. His last one was with LeBron. Of course, the Mavs, not a great first half team. The Celtics, one of the very best first half teams. I like the way the Mavs are playing on the road this season, but I'm going to take the Celtics in the first half of this game, and that's going to be my pick for game 1 of the NBA Finals. We have afternoon baseball, and we head to Toronto as the Blue Jays continue their series with the Baltimore Orioles, closing it out today with Kikuchi on the mound for the Jays. Cade Povich making his major league debut for the Orioles. Povich has some interesting numbers here in the minor leagues, and most interesting is his ERA, which is up pretty big over his last start. The thing is, Povich had an ERA in the mid-2s, gave up 6 runs in his last AAA start to balloon up, but he certainly has really good numbers and really good stuff. Meanwhile, Kikuchi for the Blue Jays, has really struggled recently, but the Orioles have struggled against left-handed pitching recently, going just 208 over their last 10 games. When we look at the last 5 games, though, up to 353. So, it's one of those things where over the season, the Orioles are hitting 270 versus lefties. Kikuchi is kind of struggling here, and I think the Orioles, despite losing last night, are the better team. We'll take the Orioles in the first 5 as my pick for this game. For our next game, we head to Cleveland, where the Guardians are hosting the Royals. Tanner Bibby on the bump for the Guardians, and it's Daniel Lynch the 4th on the mound for the Royals. I don't know when he became the 4th, but he is now. And of course, this game was rained out yesterday, but they changed the pitchers up, so it is a different matchup. For Lynch, this is his 3rd action of this season. Got hit, he didn't get hit in his first outing. In his second outing, gave up just 2 runs over 5 innings. So he has pitched pretty decently. As for Bibby for the Guardians, giving up 1 run in his last start, 3 prior against the Angels, and 1 prior to that against the Twins. He's got a 1.80 ERA over his last 5 starts, pitching extremely well. Look at the way these guys are hitting the baseball. The Royals hitting 243 versus righties versus the season, while the Guardians hitting 250 versus lefties over the course of the season. The Guardians are the better team in this one, and despite not even having to factor in that Royals bullpen, I still like the Guardians in the first 5. For our next game, we head to Oakland, where the A's are hosting the Mariners. The A's have not been able to follow up wins too well this season, and 0 for 8 after winning the previous day. But of course, we're only concerned about the first 5 innings, where the pitchers really do factor. Brian Wu getting the ball here. He has been outstanding. 0.80 ERA over his last 5 starts. JP Sears on the mound here for the A's, who has been pretty solid this season, but he's given up 4 runs in 3 of his last 5 starts to have a 2.60 ERA. We look at the way these teams are hitting the baseball. The the Mariners hitting lefties at 220 and the A's hitting righties at 223. But Woo is a little bit different story here, and the A's just 207 versus right-handed pitching over their last 10 games, while the Mariners remain pretty level at that 222. You go to the last 5 games, the Mariners are at 243, the A's at 190. This one's all Mariners, and that's gonna be my pick for the first 5. For our next game, we go to Pittsburgh, where the Pirates are looking to sweep the Los Angeles Dodgers. We've got Bailey Faulkner on the mound for the Pirates. It's Walker Buehler on the mound for the Dodgers. Buehler has looked nothing like his old self since coming back to the majors, though his last couple of starts giving up 3 runs in each of those. Meanwhile, for the Pirates, Faulkner hasn't given up a run in his last 2 starts, but we know the Dodgers were coming on strong in last night's game after a strong start to the game by the Pirates. Thing is, a lot of times when teams end the games with that kind of momentum, they start off the next, but at the same time, the Pirates did continue to shut the door on them. The Dodgers are hitting lefties at 272 for the season, and the Pirates just 219 versus righties. But when you look at the last 10 games, it's 286 for the Dodgers and 224 for the Pirates. But if we break it down to just the last 5, it continues 296 for the Dodgers and 207 for the Pirates. Thing is, I don't like the way Buehler's pitching. I'm going to take the Pirates first 5, and that's going to be my pick for this game. For our next game, we head to Washington, where the Nationals are hosting the Braves. It's Mitchell Parker on the bump for the Nats and Ronaldo Lopez on the mound for the Braves. Been talking about all season, waiting for the Lopez regression yet, but we haven't really seen it as he continues to roll on a 1.20 ERA over his last 5 starts. Meanwhile, Parker has definitely pulled back a little bit from that fast start, giving up 3 runs in each of his last 4 starts. So he has been getting hit, and the Nationals, who are the best performing team as far as profitability over the first quarter of the season or so, have certainly tailed off in that regard as well. Of course, when you send Patrick Corbin to the mound against the Mets, who were hitting like 390 over the last 5 games against left-handed pitching, like we talked about in yesterday's video, those things aren't going to go too well for you, and they didn't for the Nats yesterday. But the Nats hitting just 228 versus righties, while the Braves are hitting lefties at 255. And you look at the last 10 games, 275 versus lefties for the Braves and 250 for the Nats. I don't think Lopez maintains this all season, but I think he's good enough here. Going to take the Braves first 5. Don't like the number, though. For our next game, we head to the Bronx, to Yankee Stadium, where the Yankees are taking on the Twins. It's been all Yankees in this series, getting the Twins early, late, and in between in every single one of these games. They have been one-sided matchups, though the Twins did put a few runs on the board late in Wednesday's game. In this one, the Twins go with Pablo Lopez, who is the number 1 in their rotation, but even though he gave up just 1 run last time against the Astros, he gave up 6 prior to that to the Rangers and 7 before that to the Nationals, so he has been getting hit pretty hard. Meanwhile, Marcus Stroman, always a gamer, giving up just 2 runs in his last start against the Giants, a shutout against the Padres prior to that, and just 1 run versus the Mariners prior to that. He has been very, very strong, and of course, this Yankees lineup extremely strong. When we look at them versus right-handed pitching, hitting 258, the Twins just hitting 218 versus righties, and we break it down to the last 10 games, and the Twins hitting just 204 versus right-handed pitching. The Yankees hitting the cover off the ball, still 261 and belting those homers. I'm going to take the Yankees first 5, and that's going to be my pick for this game. For our next game, we head to Cincinnati, where the Reds are hosting the Cubs. Hunter Green on the mound for the Reds and Javier Assad on the mound for the Cubs. Assad has been exceptional this season, really putting together a nice year with a very low ERA, kind of flying under the radar with a 2.27, and with the Cubs, Imanaga and company having some solid years, he's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle as far as getting the notoriety, but he does have solid numbers. Hunter Green, for me, hasn't really developed into the player that many thought he was going to be, but at the same time, he's pitched okay, 2.60 ERA, but he did give up 5 against these same Cubs the last time he saw them. The thing is I've been pretty much fading the Cubs in these first 5 innings, and we cashed it, both first 5 innings with the Chicago White Sox in them as a pretty sizable dog in that series. But the thing is that against Hunter Green with Assad, who's pitching pretty well, I tell you, I'm going to go with the Cubs in the first 5 innings of this game, and that's going to be my pick. For our next game, we go to St. Louis, where the Cardinals take on the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies have not been a good road team in years, and the Cardinals, of course, returning home from that trip in Houston, where they've been playing some pretty solid baseball recently, quietly creeping back into that 500 range, just a couple games below. Sonny Gray getting the ball here for the Cardinals. He is their best of the rotation up against Cal Quantrill, who's been the best for the Rockies. Thing is that Gray looks a little overbet in this game because he gave up 4 runs last time out. He did have a shutout and a 1-run game, but he had a 5 and a 6-run game in this grouping of his last 5 for a 3.20 over his last 5, while Quantrill at 2.00. The hitting for these teams is virtually identical. With anything, the Rockies having a slight edge over the last 10 versus righties at 227 to 221 batting average for the Cardinals over their last 10. I think when we look at when we look at the overall, it's the Rockies with a slight edge as well versus righties. I'll tell you, I think all the value here is on Colorado. I'll take them for the first 5. For our next game, we head to the south side of Chicago, where the White Sox are taking on the Red Sox. I got to tell you, as a White Sox fan, this season, as bad as the team is, it really isn't that horrible being a fan because the expectations were so low coming in. It's way better than having a team that you're expecting to win who doesn't perform than having a team that you know is going to be bad playing badly. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, there's been some heartbreaking losses like the last 2 nights at Wrigley, but that's all part of the experience. And when it came to our first 5 innings picks, we cashed both those at nearly doubling our money with just those 2 picks alone. Today, Jake Woodford on the mound up against Tanner Houck. We've got a pitching mismatch with the Red Sox having a gigantic advantage in this one. Of course, the Red Sox bats a big advantage as well, especially versus right-handed pitching, especially even over the last 10 games where the Red Sox are hitting 267 versus righties and the White Sox at just 178. I think the White Sox get their cuts in. I think the Red Sox hammer them. I'm going to take the Red Sox minus a 1.5 for the first 5 innings. For our last game on the card, we go to San Diego, where the Padres are taking on the D-backs. Randy Vasquez getting the ball here for the Padres. Slade Ciccone on the mound for the D-backs. And, Vasquez has had a terrible season so far. 5.74 ERA and a 6.75 ERA over his last 3 starts. Ciccone's no gem either here for the D-backs. He only gave up 1 run in his last start, but 6 prior to that, then 1 prior to that, then 6 prior to that, and 1 prior to that. Oh man, I think he's on track to give up 6 games if the pattern 6 runs if the pattern holds true. But of course, it never really does. Or well, in his case, it actually has. But we'll have to see how that pans out. The Padres are hitting just 232, while the D-backs hitting 255 on the season. And we look at their last 10 games, and it's the D-backs at 263, and the Padres hitting just 239. The Padres do get back home here, and frankly, they haven't been able to hit their way out of a paper bag on the road trip. We'll see what happens here, but I'm going to take the D-backs in the first 5 as my pick for this game. That wraps up all the games on today's card, and of course, we'll be back tomorrow with a full slate of Major League Baseball action. Of course, and we'll be continuing to follow the NBA Finals all the way to its conclusion. And then, of course, when the fall rolls around, we'll be covering all the different sports. We'll probably have to do multiple videos to do that, but so be it. That is what we do. But in any event, of course, if you're looking for my best bets, the games I'm betting today in best bets from the world's best handicappers, 100% documented picks. You don't have to guess where our records come from. They are all stated right on the website. Every pick that's ever been made there. You can find it at PickDawgz.com underneath the Premium Picks tab. I've got a link in the description for you as well. If you're looking for cool PickDawgz gear like the stuff that I wear, like this hat, shirt, the Nike zip-ups I was wearing yesterday and I've worn plenty of times, and other zip-ups and golf shirts, we've got that all at PickDawgz as well under the merch tab. We also got a link in the description. This is Mitch. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow with the first 5 inning picks.